hover your cursor over the top right or the bottom right corner. You'll see three little dots. Click on it. One of the options you'll get is rename. That is one way you can preserve your privacy. The recording is going to be shared on the YouTube channel for Off Kendrick, so it is going to be public. The other thing is that we do not know what kind of stories will be told today, so some of the content may not be family friendly. We have no way of knowing that ahead of time. So those of you who might have young people in the room, it's time to give that a think, whether you would like to have anyone under the age of 18 or even 21 in the room. I'm afraid we don't know what stories are going to be told. Last but not least, we're sorry if there's a technical problem. And with that, let's get started. We're going to actually start the show, the slam, with a featured storyteller. This is a person, his name is Aditya Surendran. Actually, if you could co-spotlight him, Arup, you'll hear me talking to Arup through the afternoon. He's our tech guy and behind the scenes who makes everything happen. Aditya Surendran is our featured storyteller. He is a well-known storyteller who has been on multiple story shows. I have a bio for him somewhere. Actually, I'm going to let Aditya speak. Aditya, can you give us a quick little rundown of your background and then just launch into your story?
Sure. In 1984, I was born in, no, I'm kidding. I'm Aditya Surendran. I run a blog called Cheese Dosa, or cheesedosa.com. I shelled out the $15 to actually have a website of my own instead of .wordpress.com. But in any event, cheesedosa.com, you'll get a flavor for, I guess, my storytelling in the story I'm about to tell. But basically, stories of a nerdy kid growing up in Edison, New Jersey. I think if any of you are South Asian and you live in the United States, you might be familiar with this particular town. So being a fish out of water, growing up with uncles and aunties who, if there was Zoom back then, they would also be accidentally unmuting themselves like they are right now. And what that experience has been like. And so with that, I can go ahead and get started with my story, if that's okay, Chandri.
Thank you, Adi. Over to you.
Sounds good. So this story is called My Pain, which sounds a little heavy until you realize it's just, as usual, a Desi kid making a pun, and it's actually French for my bread. And I'll start now. I dreamed a dream in times gone by, when hope was high and life worth living. But the tigers come at night, with their voices soft as thunder. They tear your hope apart. They turn your dream to shame. This is from I Dreamed a Dream and Les Miserables. Edison, New Jersey, January 5th, 2021. A baguette costs $2, and unnecessarily $3 if ordered from Whole Foods, and if it's organic, God help you. They'll keep it at $3, but make the baguette way smaller, so the unit price skyrockets. But I'm already digressing. The point is, a baguette can be cheap. And since it can be cheap, the idea of making a baguette at home always seemed really silly. I could always just buy one if I really wanted one. Also, honestly, it just looks like a long loaf of bread with a fancy French name. It's far more rewarding to make a cake or some kind of gulab jamun or fancy pastry, right? And I'm pontificating about this because since COVID, I feel like most of America is divided into two main categories. Those of us who doom scroll through the internet reading awful news, sad but necessary to stay informed. But there is a second group, those of us who bake. So many of us who know so little about baking, suddenly baking all kinds of shit. And I am team baking, and as such, I have built my COVID life around avoiding political stuff. Facebook, Twitter, and even my own YouTube algorithm tries to pull me into politics, and I try my best to filter it all out. And some days I'm less successful than others. But oh, show me how Josh Weissman made those churros, or how Alex, no last name, perfected that mozzarella ball, and I am all in, because these are my tribe. And earlier today, another trusted YouTube personality changed my mind about baguettes. A 24 to 36 hour recipe seems silly for just some bread, and the steps were ridiculous. But there was something about his sense of accomplishment that felt intoxicating. And when that bread cracked open on the screen and those beautiful holes showed up imperfectly on the inside, I was hooked. I planned it all out so that my wife and I could eat a baguette with cheese, olive oil, and balsamic at exactly 7:30 p.m. the next day. I took over the entire kitchen to grind the flour and make something called poolish, a large amount of starter that's 1-to-1 flour to water with just a pinch of yeast. I left it out and went to bed. 18 hours until I could begin the next step at 3 p.m. on January 6th. On January 6th. What is going on? I got a text from my mom with multiple question marks and exclamations. She often sends me texts like, "Hey, please call me," with the dreaded period at the end that sends my heart racing. On prior occasions, I'd call her back trying to interpret that period to figure out if it means someone's death, injury, cancer, or some other period-worthy tragedy. And usually she's oblivious and just wants to know, what did I have for lunch? So just this once, and just this time, I avoided this text. I put the phone down and continued to listen to the many steps of how to incorporate the poolish into the next edition of flour and water. According to the timestamp I'd see later, "My God, they're outside the Capitol" was written somewhere between the first kneading and the first proofing of the dough. And during the second proofing, I saw the flurry of texts culminating in, "They've gotten in," with a period. I turned on the Apple TV and my precious YouTube channel that I trained like a young Siddhartha to avoid all politics didn't stand a chance. It was everywhere. I found the first one I could that said "live" in all caps. Melissa, my wife, rushed to the TV. She's different than I am. When she feels something, it's abundantly clear. With the ease of a tap being turned on, her face contorted and flowed tears. Melissa rushed to the TV. She's different than I am. When she feels something, it's abundantly clear. With the ease of a tap being turned on, her face contorted and flowed tears. She looked at me helplessly and said, "Why are they doing this?" I tried my best to answer, and as I watched a flurry of angry words, hatred, and Trump come out of my mouth, I realized that I was coming up to a number of critical moments in my baguette's journey. But how could that possibly matter now? To try to make bread at a time like this? All the next steps in my head felt like flour being poured into too much water, slowly dissipating away and fading from memory. I could feel myself becoming the person I'd hoped to avoid, rejoining this collective consciousness I wanted no part of. And that is how the next 5 hours went, glued to the television, watching one horror after another. My wife went to sleep around 10:30 p.m. exhausted. So it was official. We wouldn't be having the baguette together tonight. I continued to watch the miserables foment. I had a dream my life would be so different from this hell I'm living. But right around 11 p.m., something strange happened. The hatred was cast out and the decision was made to continue the vote. I don't think anyone would have judged these Congress people if they voted the next day, but they gritted their collective teeth and continued forward. And something stirred in me. It made no sense, but I returned to my dough that I'd forgotten to throw away. I slapped it once, rotated it 90 degrees, twice, and began forming the shapes. 2 hours later, the oven was preheated to 465 degrees, and I put the dough in and threw 2 tablespoons of water onto a heated tray. Immediately, a mass amount of steam erupted and began to rise. Immediately, a mass amount of steam erupted and began to rise the bread quickly. After the rise, I opened the door, removed the steam tray, and aired out the moisture from the oven. This phase crusts the bread. I peeked into the bedroom to see if Melissa was awake. And maybe it was the smell of warm bread. Maybe it was our cosmic connection. Or perhaps it was the smoke alarm that had gone off multiple times, but she was awake and knew why I had opened the door. And look, I'm no Jean Valjean. There are very important reasons to demand bread, and 3 a.m. in an apartment already filled with food is not one of them. But this night felt imperative, and this bread felt like it absolutely needed to be made. This night had awoken the amateur, soft-ass bread makers like me. And everything about this day told me that this bread was going to taste awful. Even the crust around it looked hard, but I handed it to my wife to break. The crack rang through the apartment, and then puffs of steam billowed out. We opened it up, and I saw those beautiful holes, and I started crying. It's an interesting thing, baguettes. Their soft insides are not soft because you take them out of the oven early. They are soft because they are hard on the outside. The hard part protects and encourages the inside to be softer and softer. They're delicious. And if you know what's good for you, don't you dare tread on them. Thank you.
I'm going to request everyone in the audience now to turn on their videos, and we're going to do 10 seconds of silent applause like this with jazz hands or with actual applause for Aditya and that really awesome story. This is such a quintessential cheese dosa story about straddling two cultures and what it means. Thank you so much. 5 seconds of everyone. And if everybody would like to switch their view to gallery view, you can take a look at the whole audience. We currently have 72 people in this meeting. So thank you, everyone. Arup, would you mind co-spotlighting me? There we go. Thanks, Aditya, for that wonderful story. What I thought I would do is after each teller goes, I thought I'd just take a quick 20 seconds to ask them where they're from and how long they've been in this country, so we start getting an idea of where people are from. Adi, you want to tell us?
Sure, yeah. Moved from Bombay, where I was born, to the US when I was about 5 years old or so, and have been here in New Jersey and Baltimore and DC, and kind of been ping-ponging around there since, so yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being our featured storyteller and for sharing that show. Thank you.
Thank you, and good luck to the tellers. I'm very excited, especially the ones who are telling for the first time.
All right, and now it is time. This bowl contains slips with names of all the brave souls who have stepped up and signed up through our form on our website, which is afkendrick.com/voices. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by picking 3 tellers. And the order in which I pick them is going to be the order of our first 3 tellers. Then we're going to have a short 5-minute intermission. Then we're going to have 4 tellers afterwards. First name. This is exciting. Dilip Surendran, also known as father of Aditya Surendran. Uncle Dilip, you are our first teller. I'm going to write this down. Teller number 2, who's it going to be? And this is somebody who could not make it to the show, so I'm going to take his name out. Unfortunately, another person who could not make it to the show. This stuff happens, unfortunately. Next teller, Nandan Sinha. Nandan, you're up next. Thank you so much for telling. People, you really need to show some love. We have a lot of first-time tellers. They are incredibly brave to be doing this. Third, wait, I'm gonna make sure everyone knows that I'm not peeking. Rupa Mohan, all the way from California. Rupa, you are our third teller. And now you must listen to these tellers, you must encourage them, and you must wait for the intermission to know who's going to go next. All right. So, our first teller, Dilip Surendran. Uncle Dilip, over to you. Break a leg.
Thank you, thank you. My name is Dilip Surendran. I'm from Bombay, India, also known as Mumbai now. But during our times, it was Bombay. My story, of immigration is somehow connected with the textile strike in Bombay in the 80s. Now you'll wonder why. I mean, what is a textile strike, which is, of course, was one of the biggest and one of the big reasons why all the textile industry moved from Mumbai out of Mumbai and Maharashtra. So how is that? But yeah, let me kind of tell you how it all started. It all starts in January of 81. The strike has started, and the union has started beating staff that are going to work, and especially management staff is being singled out. So what our CEO decides is that he says, he has a house in, for all those few guys that are not familiar with Bombay, there's a suburb called Malabar Hill, which is like the cream of the suburbs. And we were working out of his a big, huge home that he has out there. So our, a few of our staff were working out of his home there. And it was January. I had just got married. My marriage was just about 2 months old. And we decided, one day I just took an early day off and met my wife in Breach Candy. And we were taking a walk, holding hand, walking along Breach Candy, and we see this building to our right, US consulate. So we say, hey, she says, hey, why don't you fill your immigration papers? She's a green card holder, so she's going to be sponsoring me. So why don't you submit your papers? I said, okay. And at that time there was no security. There was just a security guard at the gate. He's like, hey, where are you going? Okay, pick up the forms. We go pick up the forms, fill it out, submit the forms, and forget all about it. Okay, the strike is on. We are still working. Oh, and by the way, this was my first experience of WFH, working from home. Because even though it was not my home, but I was working in somebody else's home. And this goes on. Now come, March, I get a mail saying, hey, your application has been received, and they send me a checklist here. Do 1, 2, 3. Okay, get your medical done from Breach Candy Hospital. Get these papers. Get your passport. Good news and bad news. Okay, I'm going to get a medical checkup. Good news, because I've never done one for quite some time. Bad news, I don't have a passport. And in India how difficult it is to get a passport. You have to go through the CBI inquiry, the CID. Everybody in the world suddenly gets interested in you and starts checking on you. Well, I had no time for that because I just had 2 weeks to get all my papers. So of course, being in student politics, I had to pull some political strings or ropes. Got my passport in 10 days, went for the medical checkup, and then finally that dreaded day arrived. Everybody dreads going to the immigration, even if you're a tourist. Doesn't matter, US immigration or any other immigration. For some reason, they don't want. They look everything up to you're guilty until proved innocent. It's that way. So anyway, I go there, put on my the best clothes from Raymond's. I got my nice blazer, get a nice shirt and tie. Wife and me, we go there. We are standing in the line. Okay, and I'm sort of nervous. Even though it's February, March, the weather is okay, and but I'm still feeling a little sweaty and nervous. We go in. And the security guy, tells us, hey, what are you here for? Okay, okay. Only one of you can go in. The other one has to go to the other room. So I now go into the room where the immigration officers are all, they are lined up on one side of the end of the room, and we are in the line. And we get called, each one is being called. Now, about 2 or 3 guys ahead of me, there is a guy who goes to the counter, and this immigration officer looks at his papers and she tells him, you don't have a job there. Your wife, she doesn't have a job there. She's a green card holder. She doesn't have a job. How are you going to support yourself? I don't see any support papers here. Rejected. I'm like, that makes me like nervous even further. Even with that air, somehow that air conditioning, I feel is, the air is coming all over me because I start like literally shivering now. What do I do? Plan A, plan B. What do I answer when my turn comes? Anyway, I stand there and then the next one, please. And guess what? I'm going to the same officer that other guy had gone a couple of minutes ago. Anyway, I go there, I give my papers. She starts looking through all the papers, looking through the medical. She puts it aside. She goes through the application form. And then she looks up to me. And this is where the shocking part comes. The first question she asks me, how's the textile strike going? And I'm like, oh my God, this is my territory. So I start, talking to her about the textile strike, how as management we are working. And I tell her, we are working at I used to work for a tech company called Bombay Dyeing. And so we are working in Mr. Wadia's house in Malabar Hill. So she says, oh, the one on Altamont Road. So I said, yes. She said, oh yeah, I have been to that place because Mr. Wadia was holding a party for the US consulate and some US dignitaries that had come there. And that's a beautiful place out there. You have the whole floor to yourself. I said, yeah, it's a nice place. Everything, it's a beautiful place. And then, I tell her the textile strike is there, but it's not affecting the management. We are still, and we still have inventory, and Bombay unit, even though it is closed, we are working. The other units outside of Bombay are working. But she listens to all that, and then she says, and the next shocker comes. She says, okay, raise your right hand and take the oath. I'm like, what? I said, I only thing I remember is yes, I do. Yes, I do. It's whatever she told me. I'm like, yes, I do. And she said, okay, come at 4:30 and take your papers. So now I start walking back. I'm still nervous because I don't know what has happened. I'm just coming out of the shock. I come out, I go to the other room, and my wife is there, and she's like, what happened? I said, we have to come back at 4:30. She says, what? Why? I said, elementary, my wife, it's to pick up the immigration papers. And that, in a nutshell, was my interaction with the immigration department of the US. And for the first time in my life, even though being in management, I thank the textile strike for for helping me get through the immigration process. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Uncle Dilip.
Thank you.
Everyone in the audience, 5 seconds of applause. This is the first time Uncle Dilip has actually stepped up to the microphone, and I think he hit it out of the park.
Thanks.
Awesome. That was so cool. Thank you so much, Uncle. I'm sorry. Oh, so anybody who's not sure why I'm calling him Uncle, he's not actually my uncle, but this is South Asian culture in most of the countries. Anybody who's older to us automatically becomes our uncle and our aunt. So, Uncle, I'm going to be looking for that Christmas check in the mail because.
Yes. Yes.
But I'm sorry, I forgot to explain before that clanking you heard was me timing your timer for 5 minutes and 6 minutes, and you did a great job. That was awesome. Like I promised, I'm going to ask you real quick to tell us. Actually, Uncle, you've already told us you were born and brought up in Bombay.
Yes, born and brought up in Bombay.
How long in America?
Oh, it's about now 33 years, 32 years.
Thank you so much. That's all I'm going to ask you for now, but thank you for sharing your story with us.
Yes.
And I expect to see you at all the slams now. You are awesome.
And thank you for giving us this for the 5 minutes. I thought, if you had made that sound a little louder, I would have gone with this.
I can't see, Uncle.
Can you hear this?
No.
If you had done that, I would have done this.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Uncle.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. So,
thank you, guys.
Bye-bye. We'll ask you to mute again, please, now, Uncle.
Sure.
Awesome. That was a really good start. We had a great first storyteller. Remember these stories. You are going to be voting at the end of the show for who is your favorite. I don't know how you're going to choose because I know some of these stories are going to be awesome. Our second teller is Nandan Sinha. So Nandan, Arup is going to spotlight you. Again, a reminder, at 5 minutes, I'm going to clank my highly technical apparatus here. And then at 6 minutes, I'll go again and I'll expect you to wrap up. Don't worry about anything. Have a great time. And thank you so much. Take it away.
Well, thank you, Chandrai. My name is Nandan Sinha. And like Chandrai said, this is my first time storytelling. So anything that happens between now and the next 5 minutes that is not right is probably the voice's fault. So with that out of the way, my story is called Facing Your Fears. And just a quick little disclaimer before I begin, this is not meant to stereotype any particular race or ethnicity. I am telling the story as it happened, and most of the story is factual. When I came to the US in the mid-1990s, life was looking up in a lot of ways. Shashank, my friend, and I, we both had new jobs. We had a new swanky apartment in a brand new country, the great United States of America, from sea to shining sea. And life in all this newness was looking up with all its excitement and possibilities. But in the weekends, it didn't quite exactly feel like that. You see, back then we didn't have a car, we didn't have a driver's license, we were stuck to our own apartment, drinking the same old Budweiser, which we got from the same old grocery store. Surely, in America, for a bunch of 20-something enterprising people, life must hold new possibilities, we said to ourselves. So we decided to sort of up the adventure. So come next weekend, next Saturday, we boarded the bus to go downtown to downtown Louisville, Kentucky, to indoctrinate ourselves in a little American nightlife, which we call bar hopping. At least that was the plan. But there was a problem though. We didn't know where downtown started or where was the downtown. So as soon as we saw some tall buildings, we thought, oh, this must be the downtown. So we hopped down from the bus. Little did we know that we landed in a no man's land. It looked like a residential area. And back then, just to recall, in the mid-1990s, we were a couple of months old in America, and Google wasn't even born then. All we had was a sense of direction and our youthful spirit. So we kept walking for a little bit, and then we came across this hooded gentleman, black hooded gentleman, sort of like a Dave Chappelle lookalike, who was leaning against this wall. And he sensed our sort of our indecision and said, hey, can I help you guys with something? I said, oh yeah, I mean, we're looking to hit some downtown spots. Can you help us? He said, yeah, I live down there. Why don't you come along? He seemed friendly. So we walked along with him and he introduced himself. He cracked a few jokes, mocked us at our accents, mocked us at our innocence. But we didn't mind at that point in time. We were all good. But then as time wore on, we realized he was a little drunk. In fact, more than a little drunk. He was staggering. He was slurring. A reek was coming out from his mouth every time he spoke. And sometimes when he disbalanced himself, just to hold himself, he put his hand on each one of our shoulders. And that's when our initial amusement sort of wore off to a little bit of uneasiness. I started thinking of all those stereotypical stories that I heard back before coming to America, like dark alleys and dark places and things that could happen to you if you're not prepared. Was this man holding something? I was clutching onto my passport like it meant the world to me. And Shashank on the other end, he was wearing a nervous smile as well. So we walked on for a little bit and we came to his apartment, which was like an old, typical city, multi-dwelling kind of a family house. He said, hey, are you into some real stuff? I got some real stuff with me. Are you into some fun things? We didn't know what real stuff meant, but we desperately wanted to get away from his grasp. At that point, we said, yeah, we'll join you. Why don't we finish off our cigarettes? And as soon as we are done, we'll join you. He took the bait. He climbed up the set of steps leading to the house, opened the door, went through a hallway. And by this time, he was really unsteady and falling and collecting himself, falling and collecting himself. And then he went up the set of steps. As soon as he disappeared from our view, Shashank and I thought we didn't have much time. We dropped our cigarettes, and we bolted. We ran for 2 straight city blocks without even looking back, panting. Coincidentally, we were running in the same direction as he showed us. And lo and behold, right across the street was a bar called Melting Pot, which we wanted to go to. On that cold January night, with sweat streaming down our back and a sense of relief, we walked into the Melting Pot. The evening ran pretty great. We had a few good shots of Kentucky bourbon. We listened to some nice music. And while coming home on the bus, we crossed the same spot from where we had run. We wondered, why were we so reckless so early in our stay in America to take this step? We chided ourselves. We thought, oh, did our old friend Mr. Dave Chappelle come down to take a look at us? But regardless, the next few weeks was bragging time. We bragged our hearts out in chest-thumping pride as we were the real trailblazers, and those other people who were not like us, they were still the fresh of the boats. Fast forward a few decades, actually 2 decades, a couple of years back, I was with my kids in downtown Philadelphia, coming from a restaurant. It was late at night. In fact, it was almost midnight. The city streets were deserted and dark. And when the city streets are so deserted and dark, they come up with a strange sense of foreboding. There was no one but us, except those vagabonds, those homeless people giving us their vacant, empty stares. I felt a tug of unease. This time, I didn't have a passport. All I had was a couple of decades of experience and a sense of faith that I would find my own way. We kept going, we didn't converse with anyone, and we reached our hotel with no incidents. The next morning, I woke up to a sunny Philadelphia. And I started to wonder, maybe we never really abandon our fears. We only learn to become a little braver. And just maybe, we never stop at becoming an immigrant. We only learn to adapt a little better. Thank you.
Everyone in the audience, a few seconds of applause for this really awesome story.
Great.
Nandan, turn to speaker view, to gallery view so you can see everyone.
Good job, Nandan.
Thank you so much, Nandan, for sharing that story with us.
Amazing, Nandanda.
I'm going to request everyone to please stay mute in the audience. Show your love through the chat. That would be awesome because we're going to have a record of it. Please use the chat function to chat with everybody or even Nandan directly if you'd like, so we can all hear your comments. Again, I applaud you. This is the first time that you stepped up to tell this story, and it was a very timely one about outrunning your prejudices rather than your fear and living with the discomfort that comes with always being an immigrant. So the talk back real quick, the 2 questions that I had for you. Where are you from, other than from America, and how long have you been here? If you can unmute yourself and quickly tell us.
Yeah, sure. So I am from Kolkata, India, and I was born and I grew up there. And how long I've lived in America? It looks like an eternity, but probably touching 25 years now.
Thank you so much, Nandan. Thank you again for sharing your story.
Sure thing.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us, for coming onto the slam. And we're about to go into the intermission, and I'm going to ask anyone in the audience who has storytelling show links to share to please put it in the chat. A lot of my friends from the storytelling community have come here. I see Mary Jo and Sean. I see a lot of different people. Tell us about your links. Let's encourage all these first-time tellers or not first-time tellers to go to other slams. So this is wonderful. I think we are at the point where we're going to go into a 5-minute intermission so you guys can go get a drink of water or anything else that you would like, and be ready to come back and listen to our next set of tellers. But during the intermission, we have 3 producers who are going to actually quickly tell us about shows that are either closely aligned with this show or that's going to be a great storytelling show to go to. So first of all, I think Anna Collier is here. Let me just find her. She's going to tell us about Telemark.
Hi, Chandri.
Hi, do you want to turn on your video? Oh, your video is on.
I'm on.
Could you co-spotlight her, please? There we are. Hi, Anna.
Hello. Hi, how are you doing? What a
Good.
and do you know what? Give me an Ambi any day over like a Solus minivan. Really, any day.
Anna's
Yeah.
spending time in India, so she knows.
Yeah. Yeah, basically my name is Anna Willis Collier and I work for Tal and Act. I'm the co-founding member and director with Cheryl Hamilton. We work with a transformative art of storytelling to transform businesses and communities and individuals. So lots of, very similar to the work that lots of people do here on this forum. But we also cast, curate and coach for the national TV series Stories from the Stage, produced by the World Channel and WGBH Studios. And we are constantly looking for new and varied talent and storytellers. And we have a pitch page. So I'm going to drop that in the chat, if that's okay, Chandri. And so please, we've just got 2 episodes left in the season that we're working on now. And then we're very much talking about season 5 already. Like, where does time go? So yes, please, any of your ideas, look at the themes that we have, the dates, send your pictures to the page. We'd love to hear them. Thank you. Thank you, Chandri.
Sure. Anna, do you want to also mention any other shows that you curate, or just Tell and Act, your page?
At the moment, I'll just talk about Tell and Act. There is a show, a small kind of workshop that my partner Cheryl Hamilton is running on Thursday, and I can drop that in the link too. And that's about transforming your lives with stories, and that is actually free. So why not? Hey, that's Thursday evening. I'll drop that one in too. Thank you,
so
Chandri.
much. Thank you so much, Anna. I'm going to tell you next about a show called Melanin Stories Matters. Arup, if you could throw up that slide that I had for the intermission, it's got the links for all of these places. So that first link over there is for Tell and Act. That was Anna who was just telling us about the show. Please go check out their website. I'm going to tell you about Melanin Stories Matters. Melissa Reeves, you're not here, right, Melissa? I know she was not going to be able to make it here. She's running a workshop right now. Melissa Reeves is the point person there, and this is what she told me to share, that Melanin Stories Matters is a show that amplifies the voices of Black and Indigenous and people of color in order for us to rid the world of racist thinking, one story at a time. When was the moment that you faced racist moments, and how did it change you? We welcome storytellers, she says, spoken word, and musicians to submit their story for our upcoming shows at melaninStoriesMatter.com. They do have some upcoming shows for which they are still looking for tellers. There's a show themed on environmental racism. There's a show themed on growing up as a person of color. And there's a show on Indigenous honor. She also says to let you know that there is a remuneration involved if you get cast to be on the show. I know that is also true of Stories from the Stage that Anna spoke about. So some of these opportunities will actually pay you if you do get picked. So I encourage you to check those out. The last person I would like to step out and talk to us, if you're still there, Sean, is this wonderful group called Grit. Sean Wellington.
I'm here. Hey, Chandra, everyone, you all doing amazing. So good.
Thank you. There you go. Hi, thank you for coming. Do you want to tell us real quick about what people should go check out?
Well, I think right now the thing they could check out, we have an event tomorrow night that we've been running since late summer called the 99 Second Story Slam. And it is exactly what it sounds like. You have 99 seconds to tell a story, true story, personal, just like you're hearing today, you just don't have as much time. And there's winners and there's a grand slam, and a few people here, Rana, Addie, Mary Jo, Joanne, and maybe a couple of other people have been involved, and it's been fun. It's a lot of fun. Tomorrow night.
I highly encourage you to go find him on Facebook, and he's got a bunch of other shows that he runs too. The group is called Grit, True Stories That Matter. He has a show on mental health struggles and difficult, raw, gritty stories. He's got this amazing open mic called Flash, where you really get to flex your storytelling muscle. Sean's the man with many.
And it should be noted, Anna, who's here, was involved, and also Chandra is super humble. She won one of the slams. She was a winner. Just wanted to make that clear to everyone that you won one of them. So yeah, it would be great to see y'all. Y'all doing so well. So this is a lot of fun.
Thank you so much for your support, Sean.
Yep.
All right, and with that, we will throw up I won't actually throw up. The show's been great. Need for that. Throw up that slide, Orup, and we have about 2 minutes. Around 4, we'll restart. Well, a little bit before 4, we'll restart, and I'll pull the next 4 tellers. Please stick around, because the first 3 tellers you heard, Aditya is not in the contest because he's a seasoned teller. He's going to skew the results. But the first 3 tellers and the next 4 that we pick, you are all going to vote, and there will be a winner from this slam, and there will be a cash prize. So stick around. We will see you back in about 3 minutes. Oh, and in the meantime, if anybody else has links to other shows or slams, please feel free to share in the chat. All right, and we are back. I hope we have people back in the audience. How do we see? There we go. All right, people, I hope you had a little break and had time to actually digest some of those stories. And it's time for me to do the next exciting thing, which is shuffle up my bowl of tickets here. And I'm not even looking. Okay, so wait, let me shuffle it up. I'm not even looking. All right. We have Alana Ali Reynolds. Woo! That is my pen. That is our 4th teller. Arup, if you could put Alana down. I am so excited. I'm excited about all these people, but I'm going to go ahead. So Alana, you're up next, but I'm going to do all the other draws, okay? And we have pulled one out. Oh, Rima Roy. I'm sorry, I'm excited about everyone. I'm just excited in general. And this is me without any coffee, so you don't want to meet me after coffee. Rima is number 5, am I correct? 4, 5. Last but not least, and this is tense because, oh, I wish we could make everyone go, but Afroz Khan. Yes. And so Afroz Khan is number. Wait, am I doing this wrong? Should there be another person? Arup, can you unmute yourself or Jointo and tell me, did I get
Yes, there should be one more person. You selected
Yes.
3. There should be one more.
Yay! See, I told you I wanted everyone to go. Okay. Oh my goodness. The suspense. People, the suspense. All right. Oh, Deepak Deb. Deepak Da. You are number 7. Is that right? Those are our 7 storytellers. I am so sorry for the 3 who did not make it into this show. I know who you are. If you don't come to the June Slam, I will hunt you down. So come back to the June Slam and we're probably going to hear stories then. Great. So I'm too excited about this. I believe our next teller is Alana. So Alana, again, a reminder, people have been telling me that you can't hear the ding, 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 ding. So it might be just the way our thing is set up. Maybe I'll just make faces or something. I will try and ding at the 5-minute and the 6-minute mark, but just remember, have some fun, and anything you do is going to be wonderful.
I think you have to unmute yourself, Chandri, when you do the ding, ding, ding thing.
I did, but still, I will do my best. Take it away. And my request to every one of you is please stay muted. Please don't share your screens. This hiccups happen. This is the internet. But all right, take it away, Alana.
Alana, we can't hear you.
We can't hear you.
Guys, do you need to unmute her?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Excellent. Sorry about that. As you can tell, I'm a novice at this. Okay, so I am an immigrant of South Asian descent. My great-grandparents immigrated from India and Pakistan back in the early 19th century to the Caribbean, where they worked and suffered in indentured servitude under British colonial rule. More than half a century later, in the 70s, I was born, and when I was 13, Taylor's oldest time looking for a better future for their children because of the drug wars of the 80s, my parents left behind everything, their families, their promising careers, to bring my siblings and I to Canada. And it was the rudest of awakenings, a culture shock and a weather shock. But we persevered, and I was never told that I couldn't be anything I wanted because of the color of my skin or my culture. And I watched my father, an ex-petroleum engineer back on the island, solving problems, building things, and being respected for his mind. And I wanted that so very badly. And I was really good at math, like really good. So I knew my calling. I got an engineering degree and promptly got a job in the auto industry. My job was really cool. I installed robots. I installed assembly lines and got to work with talented and smart people. But some things of note, namely that I was the only female engineer in a team of 50 and the only person of color with any kind of technical status or accreditation. Fast forward to the year 1998, my team of about 10 of us flew down to an automotive plant in Columbus, Ohio, where we were installing a new line that poured foam parts for car seats, headrests, armrests. You get the drift. I was there in a junior project manager capacity, so coordinated teams of electrical and mechanical engineers handling budgets and timelines and technical issues. One of my first big projects, I was nervous but super excited. One day, as I was chatting with one of my team members, this portly, fleshy-faced, but vaguely familiar guy with bushy red hair stomps up to me and he growls, "Shouldn't you be off break and back at work?" I was taken aback. I hardly knew this person, but he was serious, deadpan, and glaring at me in anger. And I said, "I'm sorry." And then it slowly dawned on me where I'd seen him before. He's the foreman who supervises a back warehouse abutting us, where there are rows upon rows of women at sewing machines doing upholstery for the car seats. Now, mind you, I did have a construction hat on my head, but I could tell he wasn't joking. So my colleague I was talking with at the time, he was about to interject, but I held up a finger and I said very gravely, "I'm with the engineering team from Canada." Well, red-haired dude paled and saw he had made a grave mistake. And he proceeded to make amends with this lovely comment. He said, "Well, I saw an attractive Mexican woman, and I naturally assumed you were with my girls." My condescension in that remark, the condescension floored me, and I didn't say anything in reply. I didn't know if I was more outraged or simply struck dumb with shock. What I do know is that I never corrected him. Yeah, I did inform him that I was an engineer and not one of his girls, but I never corrected his assumption on my race, and that was deliberate. You see, though his intent to flatter me was innocent, the impact was opposite. Not only had he gotten my ethnicity wrong, but he had also managed to insult an entire race of Hispanic women by assuming something about their worth and their status. So yeah, I didn't correct him. Perhaps perversely, a small part of me wanted him to go on believing that I was of Hispanic descent, so that the next time he saw a brown woman or even the humble craftswomen he supervised, he would judge them as human beings, individuals with ambition and purpose, instead of as some brown monolith of inferior immigrant workers whose only worth is the measly wage they earn for their highly skilled work. One can only hope. Anyway, I got that project done and I got a promotion, and I'm always, always aware that I and those who look like me can be judged in demeaning ways, but it always comes down to what I think I'm worth. And going back to my immigrant ancestors who made massive sacrifices because they knew I was worth something, worth suffering and even dying for, I take that with me every day. Thank you.
Oh my goodness, I can't even react to that, Alana. Thank you so much for that story. Come on, people. I don't know. Well done. That was really powerful. I'm so glad that is the story you chose to share with us. And now more than ever before, thank you. Thank you for your strength. And I love the fact that you didn't correct him. Let him think that you were Mexican, and you even, anyway, I don't want to get too much into it, but I just have to say that I think it's so interesting because of how checkered your ancestry is, that maybe that's what made you not fight to say I'm Indian or Canadian or Trinidadian or anything. No, you just wanted to strike one for everyone. Thank you. Thank you from all of us for doing that. So real quick, you already told us where you're from, but do you want to tell us real quick where you're from, how long you've been here?
I was born in Trinidad and Tobago. And like I said in the story, I immigrated to Canada when I was 13. And then I've been in the States now for 19 years.
Awesome. But in Canada for even longer?
Yeah, I left the States to get married. I left Canada to get married.
Got it. Well, we're lucky to have you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, wonderful. That was Alana. After Alana was number 4, correct? So I believe our next teller is Rima Roy. So I am really excited to hear the story. I have a short preview of some of these stories, and I can't tell you how excited I am. Rima is a first-time teller, as Alana was, and they've been hitting it out of the park. So I don't know. God, it's irrelevant that she's first time. She's going to blow you away. Over to you, Rima. Ting, ting, ting for 5 and 6 minutes, but relax, have fun.
Hi, this is really fun for me to do, but thank you so much to Chandra for getting me to do it. So my story starts back in 1990, and I arrived with my dad from Kolkata, India, to Davidson, North Carolina, to start my undergraduate education. And it was a life-changing opportunity. Davidson at the time was really supportive of recruiting international students and more importantly, offering them financial support in order for them to be able to take that opportunity. So I was very grateful to, to be one of the recipients of that. But most importantly, my dad was adamant that this was one of those things you don't pass up. So we arrived at Charlotte Douglas International Airport, and we were greeted by my host parents, Dr. and Mrs. Ratliff. And Dr. Ratliff, I would love to tell, is that he was a faculty member at Davidson at that point for about 40 years. And his wife, Mary Virginia, was a very active member. Both of them were very active members of their Methodist church. Now, the whole concept of the Methodist church was a new thing for me. I really had no idea about all the different denominations within Christianity. Growing up in India, we certainly knew about Catholics, Protestants, but arriving at Davidson, I quickly learned about Methodists, and our church, our college was affiliated with the Presbyterian Church, so then I learned about that. And also, I had friends who were Baptists, so I learned all these denominations. My Davidson journey was a wonderful one, and it was, obviously both academically, but also the things I remember are about Southern living. I would periodically get to visit I would go over to see my host parents who lived in Davidson. So I learned about grits. I learned about unsweetened iced tea. And, but as part of my arrival at Davidson, my dad came with me, which was, and we first so Dad was a very methodical person. He had a checklist of things he needed to get done in order to get me settled into college. I was leaving home. I was, had never lived away from home before. So we got to campus. My host parents very kindly hosted him for the few days that I was getting settled in. And as part of Dad's checklist, we went to the post office, and then he proceeded to purchase a series of blue aerograms. Now, his thought was that I should make sure that I communicate. So I would, he was like, this will make it much easier for you to write to us. You don't have to look for postage. And you just, send us and then this was before things like Wi-Fi and internet. And in India at that point, actually, it was not that easy to make international calls. So this was actually one of his very practical things to do. So we got a series of blue aerograms, and it was also one of the more realistic things to do, because as anyone who knows me will attest to, I am actually very much a postal mail girl, and I will write and receive postal mail regularly. I did proceed to write dutifully every second week, and I would describe campus and I would describe my life and try to be reassuring as to me being settled in. And Dad, of course, had to leave after he got me settled in. And my Davidson journey continued. 4 years later, in 1994, I was getting ready to graduate. And at that point, my parents and my brother together arrived back to Davidson for my graduation. They were again received at the airport by my host parents, who also then kindly hosted them for the few days of graduation. After I completed my time as a student at Davidson, I did go back that summer back to Kolkata. Was glad to be home and kind of hanging around the house, just being part of more familiar things at home. And I went into my parents' bedroom and I opened the bedside drawer, and my mom had saved I realized she had saved all of the aerograms I had written to her over those 4 years at Davidson. And it was lovely to kind of see those. But then I realized there was a second stack of aerograms in the drawer, and I was surprised because they were not in my handwriting. So I decided to open the second stack, and I started to realize the second stack were all from my host father, Dr. Ratliff, and he had been writing those blue aerograms to my parents, and they all began with the same first line: "Our Indian daughter is doing just fine. Thank you."
Woo! Rima, switch to gallery view so you can see everyone's reactions. Oh my gosh. I'm pretty sure there's more than one wet face in the audience. That was really beautiful. I did not see that coming. The first time you told me this, I was winded. You took the breath out of me, and people are good everywhere. It's just such a shining example of how we can be so different, but some things are so similar, no matter where you are. I'm so glad you found that kind of love and that kind of acceptance, and that your parents found that kind of reassurance. Awesome. And that was a fantastic debut. We have to see what more shows. So if you could please tell us now real quick where you're from and how long you've been here.
So I'm currently in New York City. I've been here now a few decades, but I'm originally from Kolkata, India. And I've been now in the United States more than half my life. So it's coming up on 30 years.
Oh my goodness. Thanks. That is awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing the story and for coming to our show. Please come back in June with another story. You're too good. You've got to do this again.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. So that is Rima in the books. Next speaker is Afroz Khan. Afroz, I'm going to try the whole ding, ding, ding thing again. I don't know if you're going to hear me. You can launch straight into your story. You don't need to introduce yourself, and have fun. Break a leg. Take it away.
So in 1992, I attended graduate school in upstate New York. And it was a niche program in electrical engineering, so specific in electric power engineering. And the class size was about 45 people. Now, before that, I did my undergraduate in electrical engineering in Fairbanks, Alaska. So I was used to being defined as someone from India, even though I was born in Chicago and my parents immigrated from India to the US. But I embraced it, and I was quite proud of what I represented. And obviously in Alaska, there wasn't as much diversity. It was really different where I did my master's program. And in fact, half the class were actually from other countries. So we had this great contingency of international students. The interesting thing, though, was there were about 5 guys that were from India. And for the first time, I was actually in a program where there were other South Asians. And initially, I was a little like thrown off, just by the fact that there's someone else, people that kind of identify from the same country that I always thought that that's where, my culture comes from. But soon it became apparent that we were a little different. And in some examples were, I remember, being in class and sitting in the back row with some of the other folks who came from maybe other local colleges, that a lot of the international students were all in the front. And but specifically with my kind of fellow, classmates from India, they were always really cold. And, I definitely can see what kind of shock they must have been in. But I was already in Alaska and I was kind of used to cold. But they had layers of sweaters on and sometimes would have caps on, like with little pom-poms, just to stay warm. And the other thing I remember is I would always smell masala. Like when they would walk by, I'd be like, what is that familiar smell? And it was just something that I was a little bit like, do I smell like masala? But so later on, they came up to me. We'd always eyeball each other, but never really started talking. But they came up to me and they said, so Afroz, where are you from? And I said, well, Chicago, but my parents are from India. And then they were asking me, well, so what language do you speak? And I was embarrassed. And I said, I just know English. Maybe I know a little bit of Hindi, Urdu, what I heard my parents say, but I don't speak really well. They're like, well, maybe we could all cook together. Maybe you could show us some roti or some of the things that you know how to make. And I was like, actually, you know what? I don't even know how to make Indian food, but I love to eat Indian food. So they were like, you know what? You're an ABCD. And I was like, what? An ABCD? They said, American born, confused desi. And I had never heard that before. In fact, that was the first time I heard the term desi, like an Indian or South Asian person. And I was a little offended. So I said right back to them, I said, well, you guys are fobs, fresh off the boat. And we would just banter like that back and forth. And it was, now I laugh back on the whole interaction. But later on, they were like, hey, let's have you over for dinner. Why don't you come? We'll make you some food. And we could get to know each other better. And I thought, that's fantastic. I would love that. And plus, I was actually missing Indian food. I will not lie. So I was eager to go over and have some yummy food at their place. So I go to their apartment. And it was, as soon as I walked in, there was this just comforting kind of atmosphere I walked into. The smells of the food cooking. I saw the chappals sitting by the door, just looking around. The decor had these little elements that reminded me of my home. So I go back in the kitchen and there, 2 of the guys are by the stove cooking, someone's setting the table. And I see on the counter cans of Chef Boyardee spaghetti and meatballs. And I was like, Chef Boyardee? Not that I'm saying anything bad about Chef Boyardee. That's definitely one of my guilty pleasures. I'm sure we would not give it to our kids today, but I was a little, hoping for some Indian food. And I thought I smelled like Indian food, but no, I guess I was wrong and saw the cans of Chef Boyardee. And I was like, that's fine. I can enjoy this. And I sat down to eat and they dished out my plate and put it in front of me. And I looked down and I'm like, this doesn't look like Chef Boyardee. And I saw like remnants. I saw the noodles. I saw some of the little meatballs. But I think as I poked around with my fork, I saw some scrambled eggs. I saw some like onions chopped in there. And I was a little like, what happened to this Chef Boyardee? But it smelled good. So I was like, okay, let me take a few bites. And as I started eating it, I really was enjoying it. And I scarfed that thing down. And I remember looking at them going, what did you do to this? This was amazing. I need the recipe. And afterwards, we all just laughed about it. And so later on, as I was leaving, I kind of again looked and glanced over at those cans. And in my head, I was thinking, that's like labels. Sometimes labels aren't always what they're meant to be. And if you peel them away, there's so much more, something more richer that is possible.
Woo! Everyone, 5 or 10 seconds of love. That was so funny. It's so typical, right? We have to put Indian spices in everything. I do it all the time. My husband gets grossed out because I mix everything together. But that was awesome. I think a lot of us who are South Asian in the audience will totally relate. And those of our friends who are not South Asian, well, here's something you should know about some of us. Right? Thank you so much, Afroz. That was a really great first time, and I hope you're going to be back and do a lot more storytelling because you're good at this. Real quick, where are you from? How long you were here? And can you tell everybody the one other extra interesting fact about you that I really want everyone to know?
Yeah, so I grew up, as I said, in Chicago. Parents are from Hyderabad, India. And I'm actually a city councilor. I'm an elected official in the city of Newburyport. Never thought I would be a politician, but that is what I am now, also wearing that hat.
Awesome. In Newburyport, in Massachusetts.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Afroz. Again.
Thank you.
I hope you will come back and tell more stories. You're good at this. Really good at this. All right. Last but not least, Mr. Deepak Deb is going to tell us a story. Deepak, I'm going to do the little clanging. Oh, so I gave everybody a little lesson in South Asian culture when I said I'm calling people older than us uncle and auntie, even though we're not related by blood. That's the Asian way. Deepak Da, I'm Bengali. And in Bengal, someone who's older than you, if they're a man, they're your older brother, a dada. And if they're an older woman, they're a didi. So da or di. So Deepak Da, whom I happen to know from the Boston area. Over to you. I'm going to try and do ding ding for 5 minutes and then 6 minutes. Have fun. Take it away.
Thank you, Chandri. It was late afternoon, just a couple of days before the Thanksgiving of 2012. After several crazy, busy work week, I was really looking forward to the break. I was wrapping up a few things at work, and of course, I'll be honest, I was kind of course, doing a sneak peek into the Black Friday sales. At around 2:33-ish, the doorbell rang, and multiple times in quick burst. I was wondering who that could be at this time and in such a desperate mood. I looked at the door. My friend and neighbor, Mr. X, not his real name as you had guessed it. And he's kind of like pacing restlessly around the door, looking at the door, looking outside. So let me digress a little bit and tell me who is this Mr. X is. He and his family is our neighbors from across the street, and we came to know each other for the last several years, and they've been very close to our family. And he's the kind of guy who, if you ask him to get one cake for a social party, he'll get two of them, and he'll go to the best bakery in the town, no matter how far that is. And he used to kind of really donate a lot of money to the charities and things like that. And we were so much close that he was actually my health proxy, and he was a trustee in my estate plan. And don't read too much into the estate part of it because not much to talk about though. So I opened the door and asked, "Hey, why are you so hard on the doorbell? Like, is everything all right?" He just walked in without saying anything, sat on the couch. He looked pretty tensed, and I know that he wasn't happy about his trip coming up to India that very next day, and he was not looking forward to it. Then he suddenly stood up and looking away, "Can you help me?" I said, "Of course I can. That's what friends are for, right? So, but help for what?" There was a moment of silence. Then came the shocker. He needed $30,000 on that day. And he was telling me like he has some accounting issue at his small business. He has to pay his staff the salaries and blah, blah. If I don't pay that, if I cannot manage the money, he will understand, but he is pretty much helpless. So a lot of things kind of started going through my mind. My heart was telling me, here is a friend who is in distress, needs money, otherwise you'll be in trouble. Know them for so long. My brain is really having difficulty processing the number. For any immigrant with kids in college, you know what that means, a savings, emergency savings of any amount of money, giving it away. I was kind of really in two minds. Then I kind of put myself in his position and try to think like, if that was me, what other person would do if I get rejected. So because my emotions and heart kind of like went over my brain, I said, yep, I'll do it. I'll give it to you. Don't know what I was thinking, but I ran around, gathered the fund, and put the money in his bank account. Felt good doing so. And then thought any normal person would have done it. Wouldn't you do it? Oh, yeah. Then a few weeks went by. We were all got busy with our social parties and holiday parties and all the shoppings and everything. And after like a couple of weeks, I suddenly realized that he hasn't come back. I checked with his wife and she said, oh, he fell sick and he's coming soon. A bit of unease was kind of growing up in me. And this was happening at a time when I was planning to move back to India for extended period of time to get engaged in some social work. And that planning was going on. And but then again, the anxiety was normal for that kind of like amount of money for any time. But around, I would say, January 10th or so, he came back and came to my house next day with a check with an extra money on it. And I said, oh, I was unnecessarily getting anxious about it. So felt great relief. And then again, kind of reconfirmed my belief in humans and believe in friendship. Then things started going different direction for the next few days. The relief didn't last long. Come Monday, the check bounced. It didn't happen to me before, so I just called him up. I said, "Hey, your check bounced. What's going on?" "Oh, I'm so sorry. Like it may be that I have given you the check from the older account, or that may not be active. I'm so sorry. I just in a rush I gave you maybe a wrong check. I'll come to you and give you a new check." He comes back with a new check. Guess what? That also bounced. Now it's kind of like really like it's getting to a point of kind of like making me nervous, and more so because I haven't told about this transaction to anyone, because he told me not to tell his wife, and I did not tell to my wife either. And now it's kind of like a time when I thought I should tell my wife at least. So I told her, and she was, of course, like taken aback. Like, how can you do this thing? How can you do such an irresponsible thing? But then she said, okay, knowing them, knowing the family, I think they will definitely get us the money. And money is not an issue because both of them work. They have a business, both of them are working. Okay, so I'm trying to keep my calm, but inside me, I'm thinking like, was it stupidity on my part? Was it really like lack of responsibility towards my family? What I was thinking, like, what really, where did I go wrong with this thing, right? Then then I thought like, no, I have to do something. I have to really get to the bottom of things. What's going on? Why there are two checks getting bounced? So I called him over, and he came over to my house. He usually used to come around always kind of 3-ish. I don't know why. So he came over and started giving me a story around why his money is possibly not in the bank, like he possibly has a property sale which is stuck in remittance somewhere, a repatriation is not happening. Then he kind of like giving all kinds of stories, like what kind of like I was not even listening to him. Then my phone rang. It was his wife on the other side. and she was crying. She was upset, and she asked me point blank, "Did X took money from you?" I had no reason to lie to her. I had no reason to basically hide this fact from her. I said yes. Then I got to know from her that X has taken money from many other people and lots of money. And she was kind of crying. She said she wants to take my advice, and when can I meet, blah, blah, blah. So, and I could not speak much because X was sitting right there. And I told her that I'll call her back in the evening. When I hung up the phone, of course, like X was kind of like quizzing me, trying to figure out what his wife told me. And then he was trying to feed me with kind of stories which can cover up his kind of like lack of trust with his wife, blah, blah. I said, hey, you know what? I think you have a bigger problem in hand. Please go back home, fix your issues with her, make sure that she understands, and you bring her trust back. You can handle the money later. And I was still trying to be basically the nice guy and possibly not even thinking that anything can go wrong. But things started really go wrong from that evening. I got a call again from his wife later in the evening. She told me that she confronted Mr. X, and X kind of like in a rage packed his bag and left home, and he has carried his passport too. And she told me, please do something. Do something? Do what? I'm not in money lending business. I don't know what the next steps are if somebody doesn't pay you back. And I kind of like, I froze literally, and the emotions were flowing through my cortex like anything. And I was like completely at loss, like what to do now, because I don't know where his contacts. I only know his phone number and I know his address where he lives, but he has left the home. So I figured out that I had to do something innovative, like desperate times call for innovative tricks, right? So to expose this con artist, I also called in a bluff. I called him and told him that I have informed the police and the TSA. If he doesn't give my money back within 3 hours, real money in my account, I will be forced to let the police arrest you. The trick worked. And in 3 hours of suspended animation, I was looking at my phone, every ding sound coming out of the phone. Some of the dings were kind of despair, some of the, and then finally that most coveted text in my life, I got it from bank saying the money is in the account. I got my money back, but lost lots of humanity. And my emotion, my psyche was damaged and scarred forever. It breached the trust, and this incident left the family apart. And that's the last time I heard or seen or talked to him. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Deepika. Everybody, applause again. If you switch to gallery view, you can see everyone. That was really lovely. I think a lot of us go through this, and we go through all sorts of different disappointments, but to be at a juncture where you're an immigrant with no safety net just makes it so much harder, you know? So thank you for sharing that story. It's an important one. Real quick, if you can tell us where you're from and how long you've been here.
As Chandri already told me, that I'm that Bong connection, right? So I'm from Kolkata. And of course, like I traveled to many other countries. Currently I'm in US for the last 25 or so years, and I'm in Boston.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you again for sharing your story. I hope you come to all kinds of slams in future. So that was our 7th teller, but I have to tell you, I have been chatting with other people who are helping me organize this, the president and the artistic director and the tech person behind the scenes, and we have made a bit of a decision. The stories have been so good, and we have such an amazing audience. So many people have stuck around. We're really desperate to hear all the stories. So if you guys are all okay with it, I'm going to pull another name. We have 3 more names in this story. Can we hear a show? Don't you all want to hear another one of these stories? And I'm still bummed that there's going to be 2 people left, but come on. All right. So are you all here? Kirti, Niloy, one more person, Bonnie. You're all still here, I take it. If you're not, then we'll move on to the other person. All right. Oh, I'm sorry. This was the one I should have taken out. I put it back in the bowl by mistake. Bonnie Ray is going to be our last teller of the evening. And I'm really bummed for the 2 that I couldn't pull, but at least we got Bonnie Ray in the mix. Bonnie Ray, are you there?
Yes, yes, I am. But if
you
you
ready
can you
to
give
go?
me 2 minutes, I have to tell my family to listen.
Okay, sure. And listen, I don't want to put you on the spot. We had
No, I don't. I would love to.
You still want to do it? Okay.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
All right. While Bonnie is getting her family together, because you guys have been an amazing audience, I'm going to move on to the wrap-up portion so that when Bonnie's done, we're going to go straight into the poll, and then I'm not going to hold you any longer. Arup, could you throw out that last slide? So just a few points of order, which I have a captive audience. I must say these things because I am secretly.
Thank you. I'm back.
All right, Bonnie, we'll just put a pin in it for 1 minute because I'm going to just do a quick little wrap up. As soon as Bonnie's done, we're going to do the poll, but a couple of things that I really, really badly wanted to plug. Please come to the Lit Crawl from the Boston Book Fest. For those of you who are local, it's on June 10th, and Voices is one of the featured tellers. We're going to have a little mini show with 5 people. It's super cool. It's like a pub crawl, but it's outside. We're thrilled to bits that we were accepted to be part of this amazing Boston-wide program. For everybody else, please sign up for the next Story Slam or pitch for our main stage show, which is next year. The form is currently disabled, but it's going to be up again next week. I also am going to put a form on our webpage, offkendrick.com/voices, where if you want, you can sign up to be part of a newsletter and stay abreast of what's going on. We've had such an amazing time. Afroz actually connected me to some people. We had an amazing impromptu open mic, and I think I might want to offer that. So you don't just have to wait for a slam and wait for your name to get drawn. We will try to bring you more forums to do some storytelling about South Asian immigrants. Follow our Facebook page. We will be sharing a lot of the links, all the links that were shared with us today, so you find out about other opportunities. And last but not least, Off Kendrick, which is the theater group that is bringing you Voices, is a nonprofit, and we would love your support in any way. We have a donation link. We have company fund matching, or if your company matches it, your donations will help make another one of the Voices main stage shows happen. So that is my plugging done. So that was awesome. I got it done very quickly. I hope I didn't leave anything out. So we're going to now switch back to Bonnie. If you can spotlight her, Arup. Bonnie, take it away. 5-minute ting ting, 6-minute ting ting.
Okay, I haven't been able to hear any ting-tings. I don't know if the others did.
Yeah, others were telling me. Just
okay.
Maybe
All right.
have a timer going so you know, or maybe I'll try and speak up. I'm not sure what's going on.
Wave your hands.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. All right.
Take it away, Bonnie. Have fun.
Yeah. Thank you. I moved to the US pretty late, meaning with my husband and 2 kids, to Massachusetts, a small suburb of Boston. Castle Drive is a cul-de-sac, just 7 houses, huge yards, not huge houses, and no fences. So the kids just ran around and had a time of their lives. Our neighbors opposite, the Jacobsons, would take their summer vacation, and every time they would tell my kids to feed their cat, Sasha. My kids didn't feed the cat, I did, but they smilingly, happily accepted the token of thanks that the Jacobsons gave them after they returned. So this time, Sasha was mainly an indoor cat. I went in one day and put her food in the bowl. She was nowhere to be found. I walked out. I went back in the evening. The food was untouched. And that was incredible. It had never happened. In fact, I was almost scared of getting my hand bitten off when I gave her the food. So where was Sasha? I didn't have long to figure out where she was because when it got dark, I could hear her mewing. Pitifully, painfully. I should add now that the Jacobsons had a 2-story house and an attic, a real proper built-up attic above the 2 stories. So it was basically a 3-story house. I didn't know what to do. The next morning, I got up and I peered around. There she was. And it seemed that she was perched precariously on the edge of the roof. I was terribly worried. Now, mind it, I've grown up in a house in Calcutta which had a lot of stray cats. The cats would come and go, and I have literally seen cats jumping from the 4th floor terrace down to the ground and walk away, tail in the air. Not anything to worry about. But hey, those were Calcutta street cats. This was an American pedigreed cat. A lot of difference. Then I remembered this book, which used to be my favorite when I was, I think, 2nd grade, called 365 Bedtime Stories. And this book was about a neighborhood in America where everyone lived together like a big, happy family. The name of the street was long, so in the book, it was called What a Jolly Street. And something like this had happened. So, of course, I picked up the telephone and called the fire department. Hi, my neighbor's cat is up on their roof and it's been there for more than 24 hours. Please, can you come and get the cat down? A moment's silence. Then almost a chuckle in the voice as this person responded. We don't really come and get cats off roofs or trees, you know. But I stuttered and stopped. And I put the phone down. That was what had happened in the book. Come that evening, I went round and called Sasha, and my neighbors gathered. And I pointed at them and we consulted each other. I think the same brainwaves hit us all at the same time. And we all ran back. Cats love fish, right? We all know that. So I ran back and I got a bowl of fish curry, the machhe jhol, that was for that night's dinner. And I'm not kidding. I even heated it up in the microwave unknowingly. Maybe heating it up would make it smell better. I went back, machhe jhol, fish curry in a bowl on a tray. My Chinese neighbor, Jeannie, came with the fish, which she held up by the tail. It was frozen solid. And it was so solid that she could hold it by the tail and it would stand up. It was standing up straight, okay? It still smelled though, I thought, okay? My other neighbor, Shelley, came with a tin of, she said, this is gourmet tuna. This is what we have for special occasions when we have guests over. I looked at hers. I looked at Jeannie's. Hey, mine smelled better. I'm sure they thought the same about their own offering. So it was cries of Sasha this, Sasha that. Sasha didn't budge. By this time, the kids had come. And the kids, some of whom were taller than me, at least at that point, we said, hey, hold it up high, because maybe the smell will get to her quicker. Nothing happened. To no avail, okay? After the sun had gone down, the skies in Boston, you know, blue and pink and gorgeous. And Sasha, initially we could see her, then she turned into a silhouette, then we couldn't see her anymore. And she was quiet, completely quiet all this time. We went back, really dejected because we didn't know what to do. At night, of course, I knew she was still there. That was her time to make plaintive cries. She kept on mewing. At that point, I realized something. I had lived through an incident of What a Jolly Street. This was my book come to life. And believe me, sometimes you need a cat in your life to bring everyone together. Thank you.
Woohoo! For our bonus storyteller, and that was such a good story. I'm so glad you went. Awesome.
Thank you.
Bonnie, thank you for stepping up like that. I was too greedy. I'm totally bummed. I know the two tellers that are left in the bowl. I wish you could have heard them. I know one story, and I know the Kirti Surendran, I know her story. It was awesome. And Niloy Mukherjee is a really good storyteller. And I really wish we could have brought you at all. Bonnie, real quick, where were you born? How long have you been here?
Born in Kolkata, Calcutta. I still call it Calcutta, still more familiar. And I've been in the US for roughly, I have to actually calculate, 27 years, 25 of them in Boston, which is inscribed on my heart.
Oh, and we miss you. We wish you would come back. Stupid California. No offense, Rupa. But all right. Thank you so much again for sharing and for stepping up like that. And with that, people, we have come to the end of our speakers. I would ask to pull the last two names, but I think I might get booed out and people may actually come and beat me. So I shall not do that. You're going to have to come back, our amazing audience, to support us in June. And I insist that the two remaining tellers come back. With that, the poll is ready. Our man behind the scenes, Arup, is going to float it right now. It's going to come onto your screen. You all get a chance to vote. Tellers, just a suggestion, don't vote for yourself, maybe. Vote for the story that appealed the most to you. I am actually going to recuse myself from the voting because I'm too close to all the stories. But everyone else, have at it. We're going to give you about a minute. Oh, and there's a little percentage. I can see what percentage has voted. Everyone, come on, come on. Vote, vote, vote. Vote like the country depends on you. And it's ticking up, ticking up. While this is happening, again, I've done my wrapping up pretty much. The only thing I have left to say is please come support us in June. Please sign up for the newsletter if you'd like to know what else is going on. And please, 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 forward our website, afkendrick.com/voices. Forward it to all your friends, family, and neighbors who may come from India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Bhutan, Myanmar, also used to be called Burma, Afghanistan, I believe, is part of South Asia. We are having a really hard time reaching people in these communities. I'm going to try and do a better job, but we need you to tell these communities to send representatives so we can hear their stories, so that we're not lumped together in one big brown skin stereotype. And last but not least, when we announce after we announce the results, we are going to end the recording, and then we're all going to hang out for a little bit and chit chat. Feel free to join us, the organizers and the tellers, even the two who didn't get your name pulled. Please stick around and just for 5 more minutes. Audience, you're welcome to come to hang out and tell us what you liked and what you didn't like and anything else. Maybe tell us your own little story. Again, you guys have been awesome. I cannot believe we have so many people who have stuck with us through this afternoon. I really hope it was as rewarding for you as it was for us. Arup, Joyanto, Shankho, what do you think? Are we ready to call it? Is it too close to call? Should we give people some more time?
I think we need to give a little bit more time because we have really, really close result at this time.
We do? Really?
Yes.
Let me see. What do we...
Please vote if you haven't.
My goodness, this is close.
It's almost like Georgia results.
Oh, I wish we could tell people, goes to show the stories were so good. People are having a hard time. People
Are
are
we
having.
having any mail-in ballots?
How about we don't marry Joe? I see you laughing. What do you want to say?
No, I mean, like, when he mentioned Georgia, that's what, the mail-in ballots were the tipping points. So I heard something very interesting, which I don't know if you guys are following the news, but now the Republican Party wants to stop mail-in ballots in the next election.
Oh.
Yep.
Well, maybe the hanging chads will come back.
Right. I was trying not to go there, but yes. Hey, Bonnie, on that note, I've been.
No, Chad is good.
on
Chad
the
is okay.
So I was looking at the chat. Bonnie, there is some people need to know what happened to Sasha.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Sasha did come down the next day. And I think finally the Indian philosophy won out because we were trying the carrot, right? To get the cat down, but it was the stick that worked because someone said, hey, let's send up a hose of cold water. And she came down promptly.
I love that. This is tiger parenting, people. Indians believe in the rod. Yes. Oh, are we done? The poll is closing. And we have a winner. We have a winner. Oh my gosh, but I have to tell you before I announce, should I announce, guys? Joyanta Shanku, did you want to do it or?
No, Chandri.
No, Chandri, go ahead, announce.
Okay.
I mean, is the poll closed, Arup? Have we closed the poll?
Yeah.
Yes, it is
Yeah.
closed.
Okay, then, yeah.
Attendees are now viewing the poll results.
Yes.
Yes.
So are they seeing what everybody received?
Yes.
Yes, Chandri, we can.
You guys can all see that Bonnie, I'm sorry, this is a mistake. It would have been nice not to show everybody exactly because people who didn't get that many votes, it doesn't matter. Okay, it's just you were in really, really good company. So sorry about that, but congratulations, Bonnie. It looks like you are the winner. Did I get that right? And things were very close. All of you are winners. All the stories were amazing. It did not matter if you got fewer votes than other people. I think you all know. At this point, so we're going to finish the recording in a second, and we're going to ask everyone to hang out. At this point, can everyone unmute themselves so we can do some yelling? Well, not yelling. My son's in a class next door.
Yay!
Congratulations.
These were amazing.
Beautiful stories, beautiful stories.
Beautiful, really. This was a treat.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Great job, guys. Great job. Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank
Thank you,
Thanks.
Chandri.
Thanks
Thank
to
you
all the
so
participants,
much.
Chandri. I just want to thank the participants for putting in the time, effort, and coming today. It was wonderful to have all of you today. Hi, I'm Shankar. I'm the artistic director of Kendrick. And, Chandri put all of this together with wonderful help from Joyanto and Arup in the background. But, all of you joined us today. Thank you so much. We want to take this, we want to develop a network of speakers from the South Asian region. But, as we know from Alana and a lot of other people that, there are no labels. I mean, people, may have migrated a century ago from South Asia. So we just want to develop this melting pot. We want this to be a melting pot and share our stories. So thank you. Thank you for taking the time. I really appreciate it. Over to you, Chandri.
Thank you so much, Arup. If you wouldn't mind spotlighting all the people who helped this happen real quick. So Arup himself, if you could co-spotlight yourself. Mohua Shen, who has helped do the coaching. Shankar Bhomik, our artistic director. This whole voices thing is his brainchild. It's his baby. Joyanto Mukhopadhyay, the president of Kendrick, who is also the one who made this. They all supported the slam and they're all helping guide this. Arup, show yourself. You made all of this happen. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for being here. Shanko, you too, turn on your video. And this is all of us saying thank you. Come back in June, sign up for the next slam, sign up for the newsletter. All of that will be live again on Monday. And keep telling stories and keep listening to them.